First of all, Colin, welcome to Radioactiva, man. How are you?
Everything's fine. It's Friday. I have many things to do before next month, but everything's looking good.
Don't you find interesting the lasting impact of Men at Work? You guys released three records some long ago, but here we
Yeah,
are talking about the band, and you guys about to play those hits in
yeah,
2024 on the other side of the world.
yeah. It is very curious. Yeah, I don't really, I don't pretend to fully understand it, but yeah, we had a big impact when we came out. And I don't really quite know, so for example, why people in Colombia or people in Brazil or people in Peru or Chile or Argentina or, you know, Switzerland, all over different all over the world picked up on the band. But the South American continent in particular, maybe it has something to do with the Southern Oceans, or the fact that we are in a similar hemisphere, or there's something celebratory about the music. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it certainly had a resonance with people in a very deep way, I think.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because you've been to Colombia before, and the band is always welcome. People is always happy to have you here, and I know that's sort of what happens with music around the world when it comes to touring. But from my perspective, it's great how happy people get when the band is coming. Even though the last Men at Work, I know you have done several solo records, but Men at Work played their last show in Colombia so many years ago. So that's great news, man.
Yeah. The old band was over so quickly. It was really, the personnel, we were done in 1983. So 41 years ago, that band was done. And, I've been on my own for the last, 40 years. So Men at Work was only together for 4 years. So, and I don't really tour all that much as Men at Work. I go out. I did a tour in, I think, 2018 or 2019, and I've done a few things since then. So it's not like I'm touring all the time as Men at Work. And I did it for a while when Greg was still alive, and he sadly died, 11 years ago or so. But it's the same band I have had for the last 7 years, and it's a beautiful band. So we love playing together, and we love playing those old songs as well. So it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be really, really nice.
You've done over 15 solo records so far.
Yeah.
What made you decide to tour again as Men at Work?
Well, I was playing in Europe with as part of Ringo's band in 2018, 2019, and playing with Edgar Winter and Steve Lukather, Hamish Stewart, myself, and Ringo, and people just loved those old songs. They loved everyone's, because it's basically everyone plays everyone's hits, and so it's really it's basically like a glorified cover band. We're playing each other's songs. So I asked the guy who puts together Ringo's tours. I said, "Do you think that I could tour in Europe with my band?" And he said, "Yeah, you could, but it would have more impact if you toured as Men at Work because of the name recognition. There's a lot more people that recognize the name Men at Work than Colin Hay." So I put together a tour there just to find out if indeed I had an audience. I didn't really know whether I had an audience or not as for Men at Work. So we went out and played in Europe, and it was what it was it wasn't like we were playing to stadiums. We were playing in theaters. We were playing to maybe 1,000 people or something like that, or 1,500 people. But they were so excited. They were so passionate about it that the shows were fantastic. So I did a tour a couple of years ago in the state and here in the US as Men at Work, and that was really great as well. So if people ask me to tour, like they always ask me in South America, I get offers all the time to come down there and tour, but I haven't been down there for a few years, and just these offers came in, and I just said to the band, hey, do you want to go to South America? They all said, yeah, let's go. So we're coming.
I think it's also interesting how you and your music has connected to different generations. Of course, I'm pretty sure you talk about this a lot. Your presence on Scrubs and the music on Garden State. How did the whole Zach Braff thing started with you?
Through a friend of mine, a guy called Chad Fisher, who's a great composer, songwriter. He's my best friend here in Los Angeles, and we were mutual friends. I knew Zach, I knew Chad, and he knew Zach Braff. And there was another guy called Kerry Brothers, who's another singer-songwriter. And I met Zach through Chad, and I gave him my CDs. I actually met him at a party, and he already had a couple of my CDs, and he said, "Oh, I've just got this gig on this television show. I'm going to be the star." And I said, "Oh, fantastic." He said, "I'll take your music into the producers and see if I can get some on the show." So that's what he did, and it was a huge thing for my career, because being on the television is very powerful.
And how was it like being back on stage after playing through those thousands of people, but start doing it as a solo artist, and of course showing a different side of your musical profile?
Well, most things you do in life, you do because of circumstance, not design. So I was dropped by MCA Records in 1991, and so I had no record deal. I had nothing going at all. I had no agent, no management, nada. So I just did the only thing that I knew how to do, which was to go out on the road. So I went out on tour as just solo in 1991, and that's what I've been doing ever since. Sometimes I go out solo, and sometimes I go out with a band, and I make records here in the studio, and release them through a record label called Compass Records in Nashville, and I go out on the road. So it's like a little cottage industry. That's really what I've done. Just because of the fact that that's the only thing I could do, because I didn't have any large corporate structure around me anymore. And I still don't. So I've just been making it up as I go along.
Look,
what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, right. Look, several bands write unofficial rock anthems for their countries. We have Aterciopelados in Colombia. They've written lots of songs who become as iconic for a country as the anthem. And of course, Australia had great bands, In Excess, AC/DC, but Down Under, Men at Work, that is sort of our idea of Australia for us who have never been there. What was on your mind when you wrote that song?
Well, I'm always slightly hesitant to talk about what the song means to me, because the song lives inside me still, so it's a song that I have a great love for. But it was, and I have a great love of Australia. But it was never really meant as a flag waving song. Really, it was really meant to. I was aware of the uniqueness of Australia. It's this amazing, really totally awesome place, and I felt that it was being decimated in many ways by deforestation and a whole lot of environmental problems that I thought were very negative about the country. And so that's really, that's in the chorus I sing, living in a land down under where women glow and men plunder. That was the plundering. That's what it was. The plundering of the country for short-term gains. And I saw that as being a real problem environmentally. And but ultimately, it's still a song about celebration. Celebration of the spirit of place, celebration about the heart and soul of the country, not the overdevelopment of the country, if you like, but what lies at the heart of it.
You have several tracks I would like to ask you about. Personal favorites, Overkill, a song that I don't only remember because of the original recording, but also the Scrubs scene when you're walking with your acoustic guitar. I was like, wow, it was impressive. It's a Mistake, beautiful hit too, and those songs still resonate, man.
Yeah, I think that Overkill has something about it. I think it has a somewhat of a haunting quality to the song. It's interesting musically, I think. And I don't really know about lyrically. I think it might be about maybe depression, and at that particular time I was starting to struggle, with addiction, and so there was a lot of darkness creeping into my life, and I wanted to try and head towards the light, but sometimes it was difficult. So I think I wrote that song around that time.
Yeah, man, music heals and it helps lots of people around the world. Thank you very much.
All right.
Looking forward to see you here in Colombia. Have a very nice day.
Ciao.